Hey, good morning, everyone, or probably the afternoon by the time you get this. But reaching out today with a kind of a midweek podcast with regards to masking. I'm addressing this from another perspective. One, the board talked about the board meeting this past week, just visiting our public health medicine Dane County site. There were 1,700 plus cases tested positive yesterday with multiple deaths and just a huge increase in hospitalizations. And we need to double down our efforts. We need to have these conversations again. Plus, I'm seeing some things in the halls that are awfully concerning. And, this isn't about whether you agree or disagree. There are people that agree or disagree on this, but what I know is the expectation here as a district, expectation here as a county, and as a building is that students wear a mask over their mouth and their nose, not just sitting around with it loose hanging like this or kind of like this or walk around like this. It is a mask over the mouth, over the nose, and as you can see, tight. I walk around like this all day. I have this on all day. I feel like if I can handle it, that anybody can handle it. And this is an expectation. It's not an expectation only because we have people here, staff and students who are immunocompromised. It's expectation because as a community, we need to support those in the medical field that are on the front lines, seeing, experiencing, and having to go through watching people die and be hospitalized of this significant virus. Now, yes, Omicron, it's slowly coming out that it feels like it's less severe. But again, you can have a lower denominator, going to speak in math terms, you can have a lower denominator, but that's a lot of people, but your numerator is going to go up. More people are going to get sick. It's going to pass more. So you're going to have people getting sick and being hospitalized. And the numbers are still showing, yet there are always, there's always a, not exact, but many, vast majority of people who are being hospitalized and, are dying are those that are unvaccinated. Or don't have that booster, and people make that personal choice, and that part's about choice. But we have an obligation here at the high school to implement a system, have one more level of mitigation. I have a 1-year-old at home; she can't be vaccinated, and I strongly believe in vaccinations. And I believe that is our route out of here, masking and vaccination. And so we need to be able to live with this. You're right, but being able to live with it is being able to live with a mask for a little bit. Yes, people can go to restaurants. I'll go to a restaurant, but we need to be able to think about when it's available and when we can support each other. So I'll step off my soapbox, but I'm going to talk about the expectation supported by the board in language as well as in our building here. And so I am going to talk a little bit here and we'll show you some language that the board discussed and is approved of through conversations. Individuals not wearing their mask properly will be reminded of the protocols. On my next slide, I'll talk about it. Thereafter, this becomes a matter of non-compliance. And we treat it as such. And what is non-compliance? It's if I ask you to get off your phone, you don't. It's a discipline, right? It's disciplinary. It's going to become disciplinary. This isn't going to be political debate with a student. It's going to become disciplinary. End of story. Parents, you will get phone calls. You will be asked to pick up your child, and your student will be learning from home. We're going back to. We've been lax. We've been trying to be respectful and build these relationships and make sure that students are learning. But we do have a responsibility to hold students accountable, and students need to be held accountable by their peers too. I'm calling on students to call their peers out. It needs to be the culture here that we don't. Yes, it's our personal freedom to make certain decisions, but with that freedom comes like consequences. There's freedom of speech, but with that comes consequences, and so I think this is the same thing. We need to support each other and make sure we can stay open. What does this look like? Right, student will be addressed privately and respectfully. That is one thing that I will ensure and make sure work with my staff on that we are doing respectfully. We are not targeting one student or the other. We are doing it across the board as needed. When a student is seen with the mask being worn improperly, again, like I said before, like this with their nose hanging out or like this, and like supporting their chin diaper. Hey, what I generally say is in a large group, hey, everybody, thanks for just making sure your mask is up or making sure your mask is your mouth and nose. 99% of the time, kids they hear it, right? I'm not saying it directly to a student, even though it might be only one student. I try to be broad. I try to be general. I try to really make sure that students feel called out, which is a variety of reasons that they might have slipped down. Student doesn't comply with that. It might be an initial pass by. If a student's at a desk, hey, make sure you put your mask on. Thank you, appreciate it. Real quiet, real passive. Maybe in the halls, I'd walk up next to students and say, hey, thanks for putting your mask on. I appreciate it. It's not about saying, hey, yelling. It's thank you and hoping that there's some compliance. Student doesn't comply with that, passive but direct reminder. A referral will be written, a message or a communication will be sent home by that staff person, and then will be called out more directly. This isn't going to be the passive, hey, I need you to put your mask. It's like, hey, student, put your mask on, please. Put it on appropriately. I've asked a couple times now. And that might seem calling out, but you've been given opportunities at that point, and now you've lost that privilege of your privacy and respect, and now you're going to be called out. Still not complying to something like that. Now we're reaching into a different realm here. And administration will be called. We'll remove the student from the classroom, and we'll have a conversation, make a phone call home with the student there. The student will either could possibly be, what depends on how the conversation goes. Maybe they'll go back to class, the next class, wearing it appropriately. They might be spending the rest of the day in the office, or we might have the student go home for a day or two until they understand the importance of this expectation. This is about kind of really trying to make sure this building stays safe, because honestly, we want to be open. We have districts around us deciding to go virtual, partly because staffing shortages. We don't have the sub pool that we used to have years ago. We don't have the staffing to be sick, and quite frankly, we don't want our students to be sick. I mean, we want to stay open. We don't want to go virtual. There are some students that go, oh, I'm going to go virtual. Great. No, you don't. We've seen the mental health crisis that this has created. We don't. Nobody wants to be going virtual. That chatter, and that is just an attention-seeking behavior that I think is disgusting, because the major impact it has. We don't want to go virtual. But if we can't stay open because people are getting sick, we're not using every mitigation technique that we have, that's a problem. So in order to stay in person and open, we need all students to follow these expectations. The current variant spreads rapidly and quickly and easily. You've seen that in the news. We've talked about it. We also have club sports and activities that want to continue to be participating in full capacity. Students, if you don't want to listen to us as administration or teachers, and you've got this thing with power and anti-masking, whatever it is, think about your peers that are playing basketball, gymnastics, wrestling, and activities, right? Esports, all these different groups that are doing things. They want to be there. They want to be participating. They want to be active. But if they get sick because you have COVID, but you're not wearing, and maybe you're asymptomatic, but you're not wearing your mask appropriately, which helps reduce it, doesn't make it go away, but it helps reduce it, and they get sick, that's a peer thing. We need us to be supportive of each other. And virtual learning is not the route anyone wants to go. But if we aren't using and enforcing all the tools we have to mitigate, the option's open. So the option of what happens here is someone I would say in student control and in family control. So please wear a mask appropriately. We're going to start calling it out, and it might not be as pretty as what we'd like it to be. Students are going to feel that there is going to be some tension, but this is about moving through this, getting past this, and getting as quickly as we can to some normalcy. And yes, we're almost going on 2 years of this. I get it. It's awful. It's annoying. It's terrible. But I also want to make sure we understand that it has a very significant impact on some people. And you might be like, well, it's not going to impact me. I got it. I didn't get sick. And let's go have that conversation with the people who have passed away, lost a loved one, who have had significant illness even after it. So we have students in this district who are dealing with cancer. They're dealing with this, that want to be at school. And they have the right as much as everybody else does. And so, yeah, we need a mask. We need to use those mitigation processes and do all we can to support one another. And the mindset of it's about me and my yeah, maybe I don't disagree. You have that choice. But let's build some empathy. Let's build some capacity for our students to think about those around them, and that their decisions and what they do has an impact on those around them. So yes, there's a lot of other things about masking aside from masking here. We need to mask. We need to do it appropriately. And we need to be finding out ways to live with this virus. And one of those things is a mask when it's needed. And when I got classrooms full of 25 students put together 3-4 feet apart for 60-65 minutes, yeah, masking is needed appropriately in the hallway, appropriately. When we're walking around the cafeteria, when we're done eating, help us out a little bit. But we're going to call it out. And it's going to be, and there are students here who consistently aren't wearing the mask appropriately. and then we get their eyes rolled at us, and they agree or disagree with wearing masks. I don't know. I don't ask their opinion on it, because it's not about that. They need to follow the expectations, just like those who go to work have to follow the expectations of work as adults. This is a learned behavior that we as adults also have to practice. And so we need to have those conversations with our students. I hope everyone has a great week. And just think of these conversations that we can have to better support our community, and make this a safe space so we can stay open. Thank you so much.